We're going to push on to facilities management now and have a dive in over there. So facilities and managing assets is really about managing assets. It's about managing devices, buildings, desks, chairs, equipment, whatever. And so it's a whole universe of things that are out there. And what we want to do is we want to, as far as possible, digitize, but also connect digitally, bring information in one place. As I said, if we look at kind of the entry level where a lot of people are, it's manual. There's lots of asset data that's in spreadsheets that you don't know where these assets are. You don't even know if they've been stolen, if they've been sold, if you still own them. And so we need to bring that information into one place. We then need to derive insights from that to say, cool, now I've understood where my assets are, I've understood how they're operating. If we're running Internet of Things, we're potentially looking at the telemetry, at how those assets are operating in real life, and we're bringing all that insight into one place. And so ultimately we can take some action. We can turn the data that I've been talking about now into action, into things that we do to proactively service things. So I'm going to talk about two particular pieces of the puzzle. The first one being connected field service, and the second one being kind of how the life cycle of an asset. So from a connected field service point of view, there's a little simple six-step scenario to just illustrate the possibility. So something goes wrong. Let's use the simple one, air conditioner. Or actually, let's keep it specific to meal management. One of the gates breaks down, the Salto device is not working correctly, and it triggers off an alert saying, we were expecting kind of a normal throughput during lunch of 20 students through that lane. Now all of a sudden that lane has gone offline for whatever reason, and it's logged a call. That's generated a work order in the system, which is great. We can say, cool, now I've got your work order. We want to apply some advanced scheduling. We want to see who's available. It's not just send someone to go see what's wrong. I know what's wrong. The system is offline. I need somebody with the right skill that can go and fix that equipment. And potentially that skill doesn't exist within our institution. Potentially it exists within our supplier base. But nonetheless, we can go say, okay, what kind of skill do we need so we can dispatch the right person to go fix the problem? When we do dispatch that work order to the technician, they then have full access. They have it on their mobile phone. They can look and see, oh, I've got a Salto device down in dining hall number 1. It's in lane number 2. I know exactly what the problem, well, I don't know yet potentially what the problem is, but I know where the problem is. And so I can very quickly go and sort that out without having to wander around. Where's the broken thing? Speak to 50 different people, send some emails, make some phone calls. Here we've got a work order, got a notification that I've got a new work order. There's all the details. As a technician, I'm straight away into the problem. As I'm making fixes to that issue, all the live updates are going back to the central team to make sure that we have consistent service. That if maybe that wasn't maybe there's a really upset students because now they can't eat, we can deal with that. Maybe they're on the WhatsApp line communicating with meal management services to say, I'm really upset, I can't get my meal, what are you going to do about this? And so rather than having that as a disconnected kind of situation where nobody knows that there was even a problem because maintenance and facilities are completely disconnected from student management, now we can bring those worlds together. We can say, yes, there is a problem. I understand that. I can see that there's a problem in dining hall number 1. I can see that a technician is out solving that problem right now. Please give it 5 to 10 minutes and hopefully the lane will be open. Or we can, maybe go and open up the settings that Graham showed you to say, well, let me make a special workaround for you today to move to a different lane or a different dining hall. And so you can see the power of this interconnected world when we start throwing real life scenarios there. Obviously, we want to make sure that the technicians resolve the issue, and we want to know what happened, what was wrong. Was it a device malfunction? Was there a network break? Was there something on the software that went wrong? What was wrong? What went wrong? Because if we can monitor the kinds of incidences that are happening out there, we can see okay, well, maybe that particular piece of equipment we shouldn't keep buying because it breaks quite often, right? And so we want to know, are these things functioning within an acceptable threshold of uptime, or whatever you want to call it? Does the stuff that we buy really work out there? That's, I guess, the gist of it. And so you can get all that data by the technician just going through a checklist to say, yes, I resolved it, this was the problem, categorizing the issue, boom. Now all of a sudden you have a massive amount of intelligence to say, guys, how much plumbing are we fixing? How many breakdowns in air conditioners are there? Where have we got issues with broken windows or doors or whatever the case may be? And we can start planning our purchasing. We can start looking at saying, well, if I'm going to go and buy lighting and equipment to go and service things, or just replacement parts, I need to know kind of what that trend is looking like, so that we don't go and do hockey stick spend at the end of the period just because we want to get rid of budget. And so we can get a lot more intelligence behind just some simple things. And of course, all of the stuff combines into this real-time environment. Everything is centrally controlled, and you have that full visibility. So it's just from a simple systems that can manage all of these and govern all of this and bring it all together. There's so much power. So that's the field service scenario. If I get into asset management and maintenance, here what we're worried about is really the cradle to grave life cycle. So from buying the asset all the way through to when we dispose of it, how do we manage that? So the first thing obviously is to manage the procurement itself. And here, what I'm going to take you through a couple of things that we've done with Curo, the school group that is around the country. So IT came to us and said, hey, we want to make sure that we're managing and controlling the spend of assets, or the purchasing of assets, so that we can make sure that we know which teachers have got which equipment, which staff members have got which equipment. We want to get control of that. We want to make sure that there's budget approval through the purchase. And so we went and built for them an internal ordering system that can allow them to browse, and this is just demo data, but they can come in here, browse through, they can see, oh, I like that particular Dell, or I like that Lenovo, I'd like to order that. And through intelligence, we can actually categorize those assets in the first place to say, well, because you're logged in as a specific user, I know you're a teacher in a certain faculty or whatever the case may be, and so you only see the kind of equipment over here that you are entitled to buy. It's pointless showing people things that they can't buy or they can't request, because that would just be silly. So giving them the ability, or have that intelligence to say what is on offer for you, categorized, they can then put in their requisition. So they go and select their notebook, they add a couple of accessories. This is just like a normal kind of e-commerce experience that a lot of us are used to at the moment, as we've moved to buying things online a lot more. This is really simplifying their whole process. Before, this was emails going up and down, it was tickets being logged, what's happening with my stuff, a lot of manual processes. So I go and say, cool, I'm happy with that. I add it to my cart, and then I can see, cool, there's all my products added, and I can go and fill out my details. Maybe I need a request motivation over there. If this is a replacement device, maybe my laptop was stolen, and so we need to put in an insurance claim. So there's a whole bunch of simple things that we can collect through this process that we can then govern and manage and decide where that asset procurement process needs to go and which budget it needs to come out of and all that kind of stuff. So that's asset procurement, and once we've gone and controlled assets and we've made sure that we've put in the right approval limits for different peoples and executive heads and so forth, that the budget owners are ultimately responsible for their budget, and they can say, yes, cool, we're authorizing that purchase. So it's gone through. We now need to receive that. We need to tag the asset. We need to locate that asset in a building, in a classroom, in a lecture hall, whatever. We need to say who it belongs to. We need to classify it. Say it's an IT asset. It's a piece of it's a laptop, or no, they bought a desk or a printer or a whatever. Because ultimately, different departments could look after different assets for different reasons. Maybe it's library books. Maybe it's whatever. So we want to be able to classify that. We want to structure in the right place. We want to manage warranties and return information, because if something goes wrong, I don't want to have to scratch around in paperwork that nobody keeps control of to find out where that information is. So we want to centrally control all that too. And ultimately, we want to say, well, who is the user of this asset, or users of this asset, because we want to track that. So if I go again back to Dynamics, here's the asset in question. It's a Dell 5520, and I can see that this asset belongs to Taelo. And so throughout the process, because it's all tagged together, when I look at Taelo's record, I can see, has he logged any calls against this asset? Have there been issues? And that's what we're going to tuck into now. If I didn't know who it was linked to, then I can't see the history, I can't see whether they're abusing it, etc., etc. So now that it's tagged, it's categorized, it's nicely controlled and stored, if there are any issues and we need to send out a work order, like we had in the previous example, we now have central access to that information. So here's Dynamics. We've got a laptop failure issue that's come in. Now, this might be because the students made a phone call and said, listen, my laptop's broken, or maybe it's a staff member, more probably accurate. But I can see which campus do they belong to. I can see where did they originate this particular issue from. So did it come from some kind of monitoring system that we've got running in the back end, or did they make an actual request? Did it even come through that portal that I showed you where they logged a ticket? Where did it come from? I can start categorizing this. What we've got here is the implementation of ITIL principles. ITIL is an IT service management framework which determines how we should provide service in an IT context, but it's a really nice framework to use for other service environments to say, well, if a call comes in or a ticket or an issue is raised, we want to respond within a certain amount of time. We want to make sure that the right people are dealing with it. We want to make sure that it's resolved as quickly as possible. And so in order to do all those things, we need to categorize. We need to set up response timers, and we need to make sure that we are in control of the workflow from start to finish. So this is the incident that Taylor logged because his laptop was broken. And here, if I just go over to the requester details, I can see his full record. I can see the active assets that he's got, any service requests or tickets that he's logged in the past. So you can see that the information is just coming into one place, and that data enrichment is just happening all over the place. I can even go and see, as I mentioned before, we want to locate those assets. And so what we've got here is the ability to take the buildings and break them down into rooms and blocks and floors and all kinds of things. And we want to start locating where assets are. Over here, we've got a Power App, which is displaying the drawing schematic that's coming straight out of the 3D drawing platform. So the architects or the people who look after the buildings go and do drawings if there's any renovations to those. They update those plans, and automatically those plans come back into Dynamics, and I can see, well, I'm on Block F, and here's Block F's floor plan. And a technician who gets this, it's mobile friendly, and they can just scroll in. And this is a simple PDF document that we've produced from that 3D enabled plan system or AutoCAD kind of environment. And they can open up a simple PDF, they can zoom in, they can see exactly which room I need to go to. If I have access through this area over here, I can tell that the asset is maybe tagged in this room. And so I know when I get to site, I don't have to go and ask around, where do I find this thing? I've got an issue. I know, okay, it's over there. I arrive, I walk straight there, I get the problem solved. So it's not just about data to keep data. It's also about saying, well, let's use that data to get service done as quickly as possible. So then the asset is fully integrated into the backend ERP. So we want to make sure that we're running depreciation against that. We want to make sure that we're following the rules from a tax point of view to make sure how we're depreciating and how long we're going to be writing with those assets for. We want to look at maybe cost allocations. Maybe you're building a new building or a new piece of sports equipment or something like that, and maybe an AstroTurf. And we want to control all the procurement around that in a complex kind of project environment where there's costs and there's contractors and suppliers and all that kind of thing. And ultimately, that capital project turns into an asset that we then need to manage and maintain. And it's the beautiful thing about this, all done in one holistic environment, which is really, really nice. Again, if you don't go for Dynamics ERP, it's no problem. We can connect back into whatever your ERP you're running, and we can kind of mimic that same functionality. Lastly, the idea is to make sure that we can keep all that history in one place, as I said, and manage and maintain everything.